answer one question, but I need to clarify something that you said from the podium here on taxes. You said, I think to Matt on Tuesday, that as long as his taxes are under audit, he's not going to release them. His 2016 taxes, to our knowledge, are not under audit, unless they are. Can you
my understanding, and I will double check, but the president's taxes, no matter who the president is, actually immediately go under audit after being filed. So that's actually inaccurate. But I'll double check to be 100% sure.
So my question more broadly is on this moment that we find ourselves in, frankly, of a national reckoning when it comes to sexual harassment. And so, again, a broad 30,000-foot way, does the president believe that he has a credible role in leading this conversation? And can you speak to the specific steps this White House has taken to make sure the women who work here feel like they are in a comfortable environment to talk about these things?
I think that the president treats, certainly as a woman myself, I've never felt anything but treated with the highest level of respect and been empowered to do my job. And I think that's what I've seen the president do day in and day out since we've been here and during the campaign. And so I think that's a pretty good start and a pretty good example on that front.
They're having sessions, they're having seminars. Are you guys doing that here? Are you talking about in recent days what people in this work environment can do? Are you taking
There's certainly White House policies that we are reminded of, and I think all of us expect each person to live up and to meet those policies and to not cross a line that is not only not legal, but not appropriate or not ethical. Kristen. April.
Gillibrand owed an apology for the misunderstanding of the president's tweet this morning because many, including the senator, thinks that it's about sexual innuendos.
I think only if your mind is in the gutter would you have read it that way. And so no, Hunter.
No, it's not. What he said was open, and it was not mined in the.
He's obviously talking about political partisan games that people often play and the broken system that he's talked about repeatedly. This isn't new. This isn't a new sentiment. This isn't new terminology. He's used it several times before. As I said a few minutes ago, he's used it several times before, referencing men of both parties, in fact. And so I think that if you look back at the past comments he's made, it was very clear what his reference was. Hunter?
Thank you, Sara. So looking at this issue with the system, the president gave almost $8,000 to Senator Gillibrand over the years. His daughter also gave her $2,000. What specifically did they get for these contributions if she was offered?
Look, I think oftentimes what you do, you're getting access. A member of Congress will take your phone call, they'll take your meeting, and if you're driving something as a businessman that the president may or may not have been driving at any particular point, you can talk to that individual about it, and sometimes they carry your water. That's the reason that we have a broken system. That's a reason that often special interests control our government more than the people do, and that's one of the reasons that this president ran to be president. And it's one of the top reasons I think that he won and that he's sitting in the Oval Office today and Hillary Clinton's not, because he couldn't be bought, and everybody knew that she could because they'd seen it time and time again.
Is he admitting that he bought access in a corrupt way?
Look, I think he is admitting that he's participating in a rigged system. He said that on the campaign trail. He knows how the system works. I think it would be disingenuous for anybody not to understand that, but at least this president is being honest about the process and his willingness to actually fix it and drain the swamp. Mara?
And I would just say, Sara, that journalists make honest mistakes, and that doesn't make them fake news. But the question that I have...
When journalists make honest mistakes, they should own up to them. Sometimes, and a lot of times you don't. But there's a difference. There's a very big... I'm sorry, I'm not finished. There's a very big difference between making honest mistakes and purposefully misleading the American people, something that happens regularly. You can't say, I'm not done. You cannot say, that it's an honest mistake when you're purposely putting out information that you know to be false, or when you're taking information that hasn't been validated, that hasn't been offered any credibility, and that has been continually denied by a number of people, including people with direct knowledge of an instance. This is something that I'm speaking about the number of reports that have taken place over the last couple of weeks. I'm simply stating that there should be a certain level of responsibility in that process.
This was not.
Ryan, I called on Jim.
This is not the line of questioning that I was going down, but can you cite a specific story that you say is intentionally false, that was intentionally put out there to mislead the American people?
Sure. The ABC report by Brian Ross, I think that was pretty misleading to the American people. And I think that it's very telling that that individual had to be suspended because of that reporting. I think that shows that the network took it seriously and recognized that it was a problem.
Sarah,
Jim?
If I may, though, I was going to ask a question about something
Well,
else.
you used it on something
Well,
else.
Sarah,
Jim?
if I may,
Sarah,
I
Not
think it's,
yet.
I
We're
think
going
it's,
to keep moving, guys.
if I can ask about
The
the
other
president's accusations.
I'm moving
that
to a
have been
different
leveled
Jim,
against
I'm
him.
sorry.
I know, but I didn't get a chance to ask the question that I wanted to ask, which is,
Jim.
can you just say once and for all whether these
Jim, I'm going to say once and
accusations-
for all that I'm moving on to Jim Stinson, and I'm not taking another question from you at this point.
I was
Sarah, a
in
question
place
about
to respond
investment-
to your attacks on the
investment
VP,
taxes.
If that's okay, I would like to ask the question that I had about these accusations of misconduct against the president. You said that he's denied them. Can you say whether or not they are false?
I'm not
That's
going
all
to
I'm
respond
asking.
to another
You're
question.
not
Go
gonna-
ahead, Jim.
some investors are saying the tax reform package favors mutual.
Taxes, but because of the top you mentioned forgotten men and women, I wanted to ask about Puerto Rico. It's been more than 3 months since the hurricane hit. Would the president still give himself right now a 10 out of 10 for the federal government's response?
Look, the federal government has continued to be engaged. In fact, the Secretary of Homeland Security and the Secretary of HUD are in Puerto Rico today, further engaging in this process, continuing to be partners with the leadership on the ground in Puerto Rico at the state and local level. We've given every time we could from the federal level, and we're going to continue working with them until they're fully restored.
The president feels he's doing everything he can. Still a 10.
We still firmly believe, and I believe you can refer back to the comments that the governor has made previously, that every time they've asked, the federal government has delivered. We want to continue to be partners with them with this and make sure that we rebuild, and that's what we're doing. And that's why the president has sent 2 members of his cabinet directly to deal with that and be on the ground in Puerto Rico to further assess and see what other necessary actions we have that we can take.
This situation, Sarah, you're getting a lot of questions about what will benefit the president, what won't benefit the president. I get that he doesn't want to release his taxes. That would obviously put all of these questions to rest. So can you just elucidate why for 2016 the president can release his taxes? Why won't he do that and put all of these questions away, back up what you're saying, prove that what you're saying is correct? That's the way to do it.
As we've said many times before, the president's
Not whether he
taxes
will, but
are
why won't
still
he?
under audit, and until that is completed, then we wouldn't move forward on putting his taxes out.
I'm asking the why part of it, Sarah, and I don't mean to belabor it, but I understand that the president wants to wait until after the audit.
I don't think
I'm
it's that
asking why.
complicated. As long as they're under audit, he's not going to release his taxes. His taxes are under audit, so he's not going to release those taxes. John,
Questions direct. He
Thank you,
doesn't worry about
Sarah.
that.
I think we've addressed this a number of times. I'm not sure why answering it another time will make the answer any different. John?
I have 2 questions.
April, you've been so eager, so I'm going to go with you to start us off on what you're most thankful for.
I'm thankful for life. I'm thankful for my children. I'm thankful for 20 years in this job. I'm thankful to be able to talk to you and question you every single day.
I feel the gratefulness there.
Now my question.
Yes, ma'am.
I hope you felt the passion of my thankfulness. So, the question is, since I didn't get a chance to ask Secretary Tillerson, there's a black hole when it comes to intelligence when it involves North Korea. And he was talking about, he said, Secretary Tillerson said, things will get worse until they're ready to talk. With that said, the rhetoric is still amping up. What is the concern about the intelligence that we don't know about? What do we know as relates to the nuclear capability of North Korea? And what are the concerns about the things that we don't know?
I mean, obviously, the biggest concern is making sure that we take steps every single day to protect Americans. That's what the action of the president that he's taken today and that the Treasury Department will take tomorrow is, again, putting that maximum pressure on North Korea to put a very large focus on denuclearizing the Korean Peninsula. That's been the top priority, and that's going to continue to be our priority. We don't feel that they're fully there yet, and we want to keep pushing to make sure that we're taking steps to prevent them from getting any further into this process. I can't go really deep into specifics on information like that, but certainly, again, the priority of the administration is to protect Americans and partner with our allies and our friends around the globe to do that. And I think that's what you're seeing in some of the actions that took place today and that you'll see again tomorrow.
And lastly, on this Twitter, this back and forth Twitter with the
Sorry,
president.
April, I'm going to keep moving.
I understand, but this is a hot story. But does the president regret?
And I'm sure that
does
one
the
of your
president
colleagues will happily ask for
Does the
Francesca.
president regret this tweet. I mean, he came back twice yesterday.
April, I'm starting to regret calling on you first.
But you were thankful. You were still thankful for all of us. I'm part of the group.
I am, but I don't want that to go away, so I'm going to move on to one of your colleagues. Francesca, go ahead.
Well, I am very thankful for you calling on me regularly as well. But I will follow your lead and be thankful for our service members. My brother's a service member, and our police. My dad is a police officer, so I'm very thankful for their service.
Jonathan.
Sara, at the event that the president just did with the Navajo code talkers, he referred to Pocahontas being in the Senate. Why did he feel the need to say something that is offensive to many people while honoring the Navajo code talkers, these genuine American
I think
heroes?
what most people find offensive is Senator Warren lying about her heritage to advance her career.
Now, she said it was a racial slur. She said it was a racial slur. What is your response to that?
I think that's a ridiculous response.
Let me
Stephen.
just follow up with that, because the president was speaking at an event to honor members of the greatest generation, people who fought in World War II, who are in their 80s and 90s now. And the moment had many people online asking whether the president lacks decency. What's your response to that notion?
Look, I think the president certainly finds an extreme amount of value and respect for these individuals, which is why he brought them and invited them to come to the White House and spent time with them, recognizing them and honoring them today. So I think he is constantly showing ways to honor those individuals, and he invited them here at the White House today to meet with them and to also remind everybody about what the historic role that they played many years ago. Kristen.
Why is it appropriate for the president to use a racial slur in any context?
I don't believe that it is appropriate for him to make a racial slur
Feel
or
as though
anybody
this
else.
is a racial slur, so why is it appropriate for him to use
I think,
that?
like I said, I don't think that it is, and I don't think that was certainly not the president's intent.
Does he see
I think,
political
again, like
value
I said, I
in-
think the more offensive, the most offensive thing.
Racially?
I'm sorry.
Does he see political value in calling people out racially? Why use that?
Look, I think that Senator Warren was very offensive when she lied about something specifically to advance her career. I don't understand why no one's asking about that question and why that isn't constantly covered. See,
You can put me two on Syria. First,
John.
thanks a lot, Sarah. You ticked off a number of accomplishments that you see the president has made in this first year in office. Why are his approval ratings mired in the mid to upper 30s despite those accomplishments?
I think oftentimes because while the president and this administration has been very focused on how we can better help the American people, I think oftentimes the media is focused on other things, certainly not talking about the growing economy, certainly not talking about the crushing of ISIS, not talking about the creation of jobs. If you look at the amount of time that is spent on negative coverage of this president, 90% of the coverage is negative about this president when, as you just said, I listed off a number of things that have been pretty historic in nature in this first year. And if people were focused a lot more on those things in the media, I think that his numbers would be a lot higher. We anticipate that they're going to go up as more and more of these things continue to happen, and particularly as more and more people start to feel the impact of the booming economy, the tax cuts that will take place later tonight and go into effect in the first part of February. I think those are all things that are going to help boom our numbers.
And separately, Sarah, just if I may, Matthew Peterson, since we last met, withdrew his judicial nomination. There's been a viral video of his inability to answer some basic legal questions when he went up before his confirmation hearing. How did he sort of slip through the cracks? Why was he nominated? And are you doubling up your effort here at the White House, over at DOJ, to make sure that your judicial nominees can answer those basic questions when they go up to the confirmation hearings?
Look, the president's judicial selection process has led to a historic pace of confirmations, including 12 circuit court justices and a Supreme Court justice. Every administration has individuals that don't go all the way through the process. We've had 60 nominees and only 3 that haven't gone through this process. That individual has withdrawn, and we're going to make sure that we fill that spot with a really strong and good qualified candidate. Dave?
Thanks.